Auto Winter Encampment. This is a rescheduled date from our previously scheduled in January, I think. We'll be taking a delegation down, and I would like to ask the council to support sharing a gift with our Oto Relatives Veterans Association. Teresa was looking in our supplies, and it looks like we have a few items on hand, so I'm gonna add that. Any further item? Brian.
Yeah, Madam Chair, do we officially need to modify the budget line item in relation to the Human Services email regarding heating assistance? Do we need to officially do that, or is that something that can be done without a motion?
We do, and actually there was a motion for me to work with Rona on that and for the treasurer's report. So it was, I had asked for us to have something available down here, but then we learned that their pot of money is depleted as well. So for the seniors.
No, but the recent email was that we looked at their generalist fund and they not even hardly ever touching that budget mod. They're not asking for, they're just going to put some of that into the year.
Okay.
So as we go on with the do it, but I don't know if us to budget mods.
Yeah, we do. But if it's not prepared, then we would approve it once they draft the
I
budget
only
mod.
have to ask for money. Not asking for money, they're just
From what I recall, we always budget mod, but if not, then we don't need. So we'll circle back on that.
We'll circle back.
Okay. So so it doesn't need to be added because it sounds like Rona has a solution underway. And then for that one that we had mentioned at the table, I guess if it's not necessary and they're moving money around, then perhaps seniors won't be looking for another resource. I think the few that we had done at the table, they had exhausted their resources, so those were kind of just special circumstances. Okay. So we've got the resolution with the attorney, the heating assistant. Or is that what he's saying? We don't need to do that then?
exhausted.
Okay, okay, that one is, okay.
Yeah,
And the third one, the Oto Winter Encampment Delegation. Further items. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? We have a motion by
Madam Chair, there was still another resolution that Teresa sent around late this afternoon.
Okay. And then an additional resolution, Lorelei?
Yes. You sent it to all the council.
Fiscally consolidated tribal assistance.
Okay. Is there a motion? We had a motion by Eric, or that motion by Eric to approve the agenda?
Approve.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0-0. The first item is reading of the minutes. We have a motion to approve February 10th, 2022 swearing in and regular meeting minute.
Madam Chair, is Councilman Brown in the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion for the February 10th minutes. We have a motion by Eric. We have a second. We have a second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0-0. The second set is February 14th, 2022 land meeting and enrollment update. We have a motion. We have a motion by Rona. Do we have a second? We have a second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0. third set, February 15th CEO report meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Louis. Do we have a second? Second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 800. Thank you. That brings us into our ratifications. The first one is to adopt resolution 22-60. And that is affirming the intention of the Winnebago tribe to maintain status and use of land under the Winnebago Land Transfer Act.
Motion to ratify.
So moved.
Louis, do you want to second that? Eric motioned.
Yeah.
We have a motion by Eric and a second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 800. Our next one is to adopt approve the memo regarding COVID accommodation extension. We have a motion to adopt, or excuse me, a motion to ratify. We have a motion to ratify by Rona. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 800. The next action is to ratify the adoption of resolution 22-68, and that is for the Ho Chunk Way Farms operation Y22. Pursuing the project is to expand farm operations for fruit, vegetable, and meat productions, increase storage, and purchase supplies for workshops. Expected impact on community, food sovereignty through increasing products of fruit, vegetables, and meat, increase community engagement by hosting educational events. We have ratified. We have a motion by Isaac. Do we have a second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 800. The next ratification is to ratify the adoption of resolution 22-69 for this was agriculture leases for Ho Chunk Farms, and this was for track 769 T 2081 922. We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion by Louis. Do we have a second? Second by Isaac. Question. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 800. Okay, so under Council, are you okay if we deal with our guests first under new business, even though it's somewhat of a
I would agree.
Okay. I would like to invite Teresa Rachel to the discussion, as well as Terry Medina. Maybe.
Hello.
Hi, Terry. Do we have Miss Rachel on the phone?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Hi, Teresa Rachel.
Hello.
Call you Ms. Rachel. Welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. What prompted this discussion was a lot of the attention and the commitments that the tribe has made to upholding the integrity of our programs. And we had a lot of dialogue and a lot of hardship, maybe I'll just say it like that, in one of our departments, particularly our Child and Family Services Department. And through some of those interactions with our tribal members, we felt like we needed to work with our administrators and bring some change and some renewed commitments to reunifying our children with their parents and their families. And we learned that you were going to be coming on into a new role, and so we're really looking forward to just having an introduction discussion with you and allow the tribal council to express themselves and to really learn about what your new role is, and the goals that we're trying to accomplish for our families. So thank you for being a part of that work, and I'll just allow you to introduce yourself and share any opening remarks you'd like with the Tribal Council.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm not sure if I'm on video or if you guys are just hearing me. I'm in my office here. My name is Attorney Teresa Rachel. I've been practicing since 2013. My main focus has been in the juvenile court system. My law license is in Iowa, and also I've had a law license with the Winnebago court since 2016. Like I said, my focus has always been juvenile court. When I worked up in Sioux City, because I was not a presenting officer or a prosecuting officer, I represented mostly moms, dads, and children, every once in a while an intervening grandparent or an intervening adoptive placement. I've also represented similar folks before I took this job down here in tribal court. My understanding of why I was hired is kind of twofold. One, kind of a release valve for your current prosecuting attorney, Peter Monzel. It sounds like he's been doing this mostly by himself for quite a few years, and it was getting a bit overwhelming. And perhaps the cases that required interaction with Child and Family Services or the Department of Health and Human Services wasn't getting as much attention as it needed or perhaps deserved. And so a specific presenting officer was applied. That's what I applied for. My thought would be I would work on some criminal cases with Peter. Mostly I would take over all of the juvenile court aspects, at least as far as minors in need of care are concerned. I can tell you one of the things that really attracted me to switching from representing parents and children like I did in Sioux City to coming over to the tribe and representing on the presenting or the prosecuting side is that in the Winnebago tribal court system, there is almost never a termination of parental rights. I was very frustrated by that process in Iowa. It didn't feel very good, I'll tell you that. And that's one of the reasons that really attracted me to this position, that I would get to stay in juvenile court. I would get to continue practicing the primary area of law that I'm good at and know a lot about and am familiar with, but would be able to do it from a state standpoint and not have to worry about terminating these parents' rights. It's my understanding that I represent the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska, that I don't represent Child and Family Services, that I don't represent parents, that I don't represent the children, but I'm supposed to represent what the people of Winnebago want. So to that end, I'm hoping in addition to my court duties, I'll be able to do some community outreach. What I would really love is for the first time they have to see me, it not be here in court. I'd like to do some things in the community, do some presentations, help have more access to our courts by parents and children, of course, too. I think normally it's parents that feel like they don't have access to our courts on occasion, especially in these minors in need of care cases, because they don't get appointed an attorney in our system. I would like to kind of get some packets for parents to have to maybe understand the process and the system a bit better, since they don't have attorneys representing them. I feel like I'm going on a bit. If the council has any specific questions for me, I would love to answer them.
Thank you for those opening comments and for your willingness to kind of start with coming into our community with that good feeling of wanting to meet some of the participants and it a positive experience. So Lorelai, did you have your hand up?
Just wanted to explain to the council that we did send for this. Teresa is working under a grant to the tribal court. And it's called Winnebago Tribal Court Children's Justice Act Partnership for Indian Communities. And a part of this is, part of what he's going to be doing is we want to enhance the capacity of our community to address the needs of child abuse victims, to promote and the protection and safety of the next generation of Winnebago tribal community. So a part of this is handling prosecution of child abuse, criminal child abuse. So I just wanted to let you know, the council know, and it's a Department of Justice grant that she's working under. Thank you.
Thanks, Lorelai. Isaac?
Hi, Teresa. My name's I. Do you have a? Can you turn your camera on, please? Your name.
It doesn't seem to give me any kind of option to do that. And I can only see a handful of you. Before we started, I went through all the settings I could find.
Okay.
There's no camera on my computer, so I had to log on my phone.
Oh, okay.
If anyone knows what I should push, I'd be happy. I think I would prefer for you folks to be able to see me, but I'm not sure how to accomplish that with what I have for settings here.
And the reason why I bring that up was because one of the things we're talking about. Good way to talk. So this meeting here is the mid-month meeting that actually typed tribal members. Thinking that would be a good opportunity, but what I wanted to get at was that have you had a chance to look at the tribal code? And if you have you looked at anything as far as habitual offender?
I have, like I said, I've actually been practicing down here since 2016. And of course, I concentrated on the civil code and the juvenile code. So I've been familiar with both the civil and the juvenile code for a while. I've had a chance to read the criminal code now as well and kind of go through it. The most important thing that struck me in the juvenile code that I've actually been working on preparing some things for is the fact that our juvenile code is very unique in that it has a specific section for grandparents. And I've given that some considerable time and attention, and also have been preparing some packets to help grandparents understand what their rights would be in these minors in need of care proceedings when children are removed or when there's just services being court ordered and provided. The most important part of the code that I have been working in since I started is that code section that allows for removal of the children either by a judge's order or by law enforcement. I know there's been a lot of discussion here in the last couple of weeks about there needs to be some changes to the code. I'm very interested in hearing input from the community and, of course, the council. I don't believe Peter and I have any authority to change the code. I believe that would all have to come from you. I know how to write code and can draft some things up with the assistance and help of the community and the council. And I imagine there's maybe a team of folks that want to talk about that. So I think there's room for improvement. It's my understanding the code maybe hasn't been updated in quite a few years, and I'd be interested in hearing from everyone on how we move forward with that process.
I was looking at you talking and start that up. You're talking about 11, right?
Yeah,
Referring back.
Article 11 is that grandparents code section.
Yeah. One of the things with grandparents practice.
I did.
Kind of looking at some of Iowa's, but the tribal code is pretty. It's something nice. A lot of times, look at. I don't know if you got a chance to look at their. Remember what article? But there's a kinship war chart. I don't know if Peter or if anybody got a chance to kind of bring you up to date on what that is. But in that stuff that was taking place at Child and Family Services, kind of come across some things that weren't being followed. One of the things that I wanted to kind of stress to you was that in that kinship code, we really, 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 really want that to be followed. Here's the reason why, part of it. is because that comes from the beginning of time, from how we recognized our relationship with each other. And one of those things, when that wasn't being followed, was really disrespectful to a lot of elders, and not only tribal council here at the table. The reason for that is because those relationships through that kinship process, those were admired and followed, keep our people in line, be able to understand where it is that we follow the responsibility as far as plans. And when that's not being followed, that's kind of like can be taken in so many different ways. But some of the remarks from some of the tribal members, and I had to pull some of them aside and said, hey, we'll take care of it the best we can. Well, if you guys don't do it, then about it. Because our people didn't suffer and go through all these things, make it this far to be disrespected in our lands and our territories. So as you move forward, that's just something to kind of look at and kind of familiarize yourself with that. And if you have any questions about that, I would be willing to kind of help you understand that a little more, or a little more in depth, just so you're able to kind of work closer with some of the families and stuff. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there and share that with you. That was one of the main concerns that we found with one of these cases. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming aboard. And then, did you say you had a military background?
I'm sorry, what kind of background?
A military background?
No, I don't have a military background.
You have a law enforcement background?
When I first was interested in pursuing the law, I actually went through the Western Iowa Tech Community College's police science program. My instructors encouraged me that perhaps just being a police officer wouldn't fulfill me, and they encouraged me to go further, get my 4-year degree, and then eventually go on to law school. So when I thought I was getting a 2-year degree and going off to be a police officer, turned into a 7-year degree and working as an attorney.
Glad to have you on board.
Thank you, Isaac, for your comments, and that's nice to hear about your background, and we might have to pull you into more discussions now that we know of a law enforcement. Eric.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for being here to inform us a little bit about yourself. Still don't have a face to put with the name, but hopefully we'll work on that down the road here. Okay, you're I believe you came in kind of at a weird time. When you were coming on, you were formed to work on a case that you've already been hired to go against. Do that because you're picking up a little bit of employment down here, and it's just that where we found that through the old personnel of CFS that there might have been they start running things on their own. They start thinking something that they probably shouldn't have been. And we found that out over time because there's been quite a few cases that have gone in the same direction. That good parents losing their children. And just as life goes, it's a learning curve. We learn every day, especially with children. And so, listening to hear you say you're taking on all the child cases, you have some setbacks that are against you. You're not from here. You weren't raised here. You don't know who the people are that you're dealing with, the good and the bad. I mean, everybody does make some mistakes sometimes. But most of the time, in my eyes, our people, they try to do the best they can. And they do make mistakes. And those mistakes, they shouldn't be held against them continuously. Especially when the CFS comes out short. families that want their children, they do, they're requested to do drug tests, but they're not, because that's not their job to know the channels of what CFS does. And so even when the family has their children removed under allegations of drugs or alcohol, that when they get tested, they turn up negative. And so when these allegations find their way to the tribal council, because the tribal council, you know, we've been around here long enough to know who the parents are, that how far into those allegations will they go? How long will they go before they're no good? They find out that it's just an allegation from a angry parent or an angry child, because they can. That sideways personal deviance, it gets in the way, and it makes people lie against our enrolled membership that are trying to do their best with their children. And then you said that you have no connection to the tribe or the state or nothing. You're just kind of in the middle. There's no responsibility held to you. And if I have a say, listening to what our parents have to go through and losing their children, and knowing our children are being sent off to non-native families off the reservation and even on the reservation, and especially when they have to go out of state, 1,000 miles away from here. They don't get phone calls. The parents don't get phone calls. They don't know where their children are. That's part of killing the Indian and saving the man. We're trying to avoid that, especially in these times now. And so, as has been talked about, this kinship code, the family placement preference, that we would really like you to learn that, to know that the mother's sisters and the father's brothers take up that role in the families, how that works. Because from my understanding, that's being overlooked. We don't need that to be overlooked. That needs to be looked at, studied, understood. And that's where it pays off to be from here, to know the people, that family, the families. Because we still have a problem with that being followed. And so I'm very upset with that not being followed. And now you've been informed of the importance of that. I'm kind of expecting you to start following that as well and look into that. Because we don't need our children being sent to non-native families, especially off the reservation and definitely out of the state. So, you've been here for a while. I haven't heard any families being reunited yet. That's the CFS. They're saying up there, their slogan, bringing families together. Since you come on, I haven't heard of any families being put back together, especially this case that were requested to help with by the family, and you turned it down because you're picking up a job at our courthouse. So I'll be interested. I'll be listening for forward progress in our families being brought back together. Like I said, there was an agenda that we're trying to fix that wasn't right. I really pray that you're part of the solution and not the problem. Because I can't say it enough. We need our children back home, and preferably with their families. So with that I said, thank you again. Thank you for giving us a rundown on your bio. Look forward to having you serve for the better part of our people, for our younger generations today and for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric, for sharing that and for your kind of keeping us moving. You know, some of the council has really encouraged us to keep working this problem, and that it's the children who are going to benefit from us coming together. So thank you Rachel, for the good things that you're going to do to help bring our families back together and protect the children. And thank you to the council for your commitment to uphold the integrity of our programs and how it really reaches our tribal members in a good way. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this portion of the agenda?
I would.
Louis?
I'm glad to have you on board. You have a tremendous job in front of you. You have many different opinions on what and how you should carry out your functions. I had, for 2 summers, I had kids work for me in the Buffalo program. And I put in an application first, never got anybody. Went down and asked. I had to get angry at them. They sent me 8 kids. Rowdiest, craziest, obnoxious group of Winnebago boys I ever seen. And I was worried about how I'm going to handle these kids around Buffalo. They've been doing something goofy, get themselves hurt, or maybe me. I went back to the traditional method. I told them at noon, told them in the morning, come back at noon, their answer. And we're going to start a different policy. First, you got to treat me as a Winnebago man. I don't care what you think about me, what you have to do. Second one's for me. I'm going to treat you as a Winnebago young man. Teach you, instruct you, tell you things that your uncles are supposed to be telling you. Take care of you. The third one, I need to know your dega on your mother's side. And that's where the disciplinary action comes from. They all came back. They were going to prove Louis, they were good young men. But they started to balk when they had to give me their Dega's name. One of them had a Dega with a big drunk. Wasn't any good to him or his family. So I went around to the veterans and I stole an idea from baseball and made him a designated Dega. But he couldn't get out of it. They all had respectable Degas. They weren't afraid of me. They surely were afraid of those Degas. From day one, when they came back and told me that they were going to stay in the program, from that day on, there was a problem in discipline. And people would ask me, how'd you get them little coyotes to behave? I didn't control them from rules. They follow them. But I use the traditional methods. And what kind of methods are you going to use in meting out punishment? Well, those boys, the worst thing I could make them do was pick up cans along the highway. Hit them, slap them, they just act tough. Make them pick up cans, that hurt. I don't know why, but I respected it. So one of the problems is that a lot of our parents don't know the traditional ways. We got to teach them. We got to have grandparents. We had a new generation of children. And humiliating to have to ask a youngster to help you on a computer, but you have to. They know. So how are you going to adjust and adapt to changing cultural mores of the tribe? Thank you.
Thanks, Louis, for saying that and for even kind of sharing how you went about honoring those relationships by telling those young men that you needed to be in touch with their degas, and that's really telling on how we support our young people in the best way. Fully.
Thank you.
I wanted to know from the attorney what she was going to do in her business to respect cultural ways.
So before we move on to Coley, Ms. Teresa, could you respond to some of your mechanisms that you're going to use to accomplish that? Gotta unmute, Teresa.
Sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
So Eric had talked about the Winnebago Kinship system, and I had made a point of familiarizing myself with that. I wasn't 100% familiar with it, but I had an idea of how it worked. I sought out, oh gosh, I wish I could remember his real name, but everybody referred to him as Blue. He's a younger man that I think works over at the school and does, he teaches some classes, I believe. And I met with him and said, gosh, can you kind of help explain this to me? Explain to me, why this is important and different. And so we had a meeting for a couple of hours where he went through this Winnebago kinship system that's in the code and explained to me, because I said, obviously this is very important. You guys put it in your code. There's this specific grandparents article. And so I took some time to try to educate myself with him. I'm super hopeful that as COVID restrictions start to lift, we're able to have more things and events in the community where I'll be able to I listen. I think my job right now is to listen, to really, truly listen to what the community is telling me they want, what the tribe is telling me they want. I think Eric was concerned that in my job, I'm in limbo. I very clearly, under the code, represent the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska, which to me means I represent the Winnebago people that live here and utilize this court system. And for me to be able to do that, I have to listen, and I have to listen hard to what's going on, and probably not speak for a while and really learn a lot. And I'm very willing to do that. I'm excited to do that. I'm hopeful you all want to teach me that information. Did I answer your question, sir, or did I miss it?
You answered Eric's. That's all right.
So maybe you need to meet some of the Degas, Teresa.
I would love to do that.
So so we will definitely learn from Louis and be thinking of some of the ways that you could develop those relationships and really go straight to the source. Go to maybe the ones that are impressionable on our young people's lives and reach them in ways that the court system may not be able to. So we'll keep working with Louis. I kind of always look towards the elders on our council to tell us, the way things need to be. So thank you, Louis, for reminding us that relationship and those connections are important in our community and really how you're going to be successful. So I'm going to turn it over to Coley.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure we must have bumped each other or ran across somewhere. You've been with the tribe for a few years. I guess all I would like to say is I'm looking for a miracle. I am part of the program. I am a grandparent. I've been married for 29 years. I have 12 grandchildren. Within the last few years, I've been taking care of 8 of them. I have 4 in me and my wife's care right now. I guess what I want to say, and I'm pretty sure, as grandparents, we've discussed, we find it's a different love. You were told that, and we've experienced that. It's a different love than your own children. It is. I've seen that, but I love my children just as much, But speaking of the, of grandparents, and even into our kinship that we have, I would really like to get to a point where we don't even have to discuss these things, with our families, our children. Sometimes we do. We fail as parents. I failed as a parent. We have these programs that are supposed to help us, and those programs don't help us. And so that's why as grandparents, we will never say no to our grandchildren, never. But I don't think a grandparent should have to take care of their grandkids. We need our kids to step up, to be part of society. Sometimes you think not working your whole life, being home, one family, one wife is enough, but it's not. So I just like for the future, some way maybe, that we start knocking these things out. We don't have to rely on our grandparents, or we don't have to look at this kinship. That's a lot to ask for, believe me, I know, and I don't know if it's possible, but we can say that's what we're trying to do. Help in any way, because of my experience, my lifetime experience, because I'm part of the program. So I'm willing to try and help, when I can. But, like I said, I have 8 grandkids with me, part of my life, daily, 8 out of 12. So try and make time. A lot of my time goes to them, but that's all I would like to see and say, for our future, that we don't have to say, hey, these kids go to their grandparents. These kids go to their degas and their aunties first. We try and work these programs, work a miracle, and start teaching our children. And us as a tribe, we need a lot of work to do too, to do this, to accomplish this for our future, for our children. But thank you.
Thank you, Cole. I know that Tori's on her way back into the chambers, so. Again, I don't want to, Madam Chair, I don't want to belabor this introduction because I see this conversation as being only that. So with a few brief moments, it's nice to meet you, Miss Rachel. I'm glad that the court has or are you actually a court employee?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I didn't want to misspeak and place you into one of the other departments. I'm glad that the court has the ability to expand its staff needs, because obviously that's something that we need to address as well, which does include you, but certainly reaches far beyond you. Just from my perspective, I want to underscore and reiterate the comments that were made. From my perspective, Ms. Rachel, family reunification is priority number 1. In whatever way and path that includes, which obviously does include the kinship policy that we have in place, that is what we need to be going for. And I'm very confident we will be able to continue moving in that direction. But just to say it again, family reunification is what we ought to be moving toward. Thank you and welcome aboard.
Chair Chamber, Lorelei.
Teresa, I just want to say welcome. My name's Lorelei Decora, and I'm the secretary of the Tribal Council. And I just wanted to let you know that as we saw issues coming up with our court system, and we have commissioned a tribal court assessment that's going to start March 15th. We have an attorney that we've contracted with who's got 30 years as a public defender in the Hennepin County, Minneapolis. She's also been involved in different tribal courts as judges. And so she's going to come in and work with all the court staff to do an assessment where what are our needs and where are we short on, do we have, is our criminal caseload, we have too many, or we have cases where we don't have adequate prosecutor or public defender time. Why does it take so long to move a case through the criminal or civil court? And so she's going to do this assessment. And at the same time, we're also aware that our codes are in bad need of revision. And we've been slowly and surely talking about the need for these code changes, but I think I brought this up last month that we need to have a contractor that fits and meets with all our different programs that work under these codes to get their revisions and write them down and do this like in a day-to-day manner. Because the council, we only have so many meetings and we need somebody ongoing. And so I asked for an RFP to put out there for a scribe, somebody that meets and with methodologically with our tribal programs, our community members, to where the codes need revision. And I'll tell you, I was shocked when I first looked at the child and family code or policy. It's even a draft. It's not even a final document. So there's a lot of work that the council is coming across, and we just got to roll up our sleeves and we got to work at it for our Winnebago people. So I just want to welcome you on board. And I know that you are hearing us. I can tell that. So, and I want to thank our acting administrator. He sure is under a lot of pressure to keep the court moving forward while we're looking for a permanent tribal court administrator. So I want to thank Terry too, Terry Medina. So I just want to ask if we can approve this resolution, Madam Chair, to for when Teresa Rachel becomes permanent on April 4th.
Would you like to make that motion, Lorelei? Would somebody like to make that motion? Are we adopting a resolution?
Yes.
Yep. What's the next number?
I looked it up on the resolution log, but my laptop won't pull up the tribal council zip drive.
So it may be 70 because the last one issued that we ratified was 22-69.
Okay.
Is
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by Lorelei to
Second.
adopt resolution 22-70, seconded by Louis. Discussion. Objection. Motion carried 8-0-0. Carrie and Lisa for joining us. Getting that done.
Yeah, thank you. One quick comment. Want to remind the council, Wednesday night, we're going to have the prayer gathering, talking circle, and listening circle out to the Ho Chunk Center at 5:30. And on my post, I kind of made it clear we're not going to go out there and point fingers at no one. Programs are going to come out there and pray for the relatives because a lot of our people walk around with a broken heart. Sometimes that heart shattered to pieces. Their spirit's broken. So we're going to offer up prayers that they can get their words up to the Creator. We have a talking circle, let it out, because the relatives, they get upset, they get angry, And then what happens, they have a bitterness inside, anger, all those things, and wanted to let it go and try to sit down and communicate in a good, sacred way where we can respect everyone's opinion, and then out of that, put together some issues that we can prioritize to work on. So on mind again, the council sure welcome come out Wednesday night out to the Ho-Chunk Center at 5:30. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. For the memberships info, I'm gonna try to zip through these last minutes of the meeting. It's getting really icy out, so I want to make sure everybody gets out of here soon. The next item we have is a heating assistant request. We have some tribal seniors who are on fixed incomes, and from time to time, they utilize the resources available at Human Services. And so we wanted to make sure that we take care of all our seniors that come into that circumstance from time to time. And so in the packet, the information and the difference of what's available through other resources, the difference of $237.75. So I'm looking for a motion of support to take care of that. Okay, so you guys are so quick. We got a motion by Isaac. We have a second by Eric. Question. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 800. Thank you, Council. The next item I added to the agenda is the Oto Winter Encampment. A delegation of Tribal Council will be traveling to the Oto Winter Encampment in Newkirk, Oklahoma, and we would like to bring some gifts. So in our supply closet, we have some star quilts and some cups and things. So I would just look for motion of support to utilize some of that to share with our relatives. We have a motion by Isaac. We have a second. We have a second by Rona. Discussion. Objection to motion. Motion carried 800. Council, I need one more thing.
Who was the second? Who did the second?
Rona.
Okay.
So that takes care of our added items, and I'm just asking for a motion to suspend the rules so I can share one item that came in after 5.
Make
So
that motion.
we have a motion by Rick. We have a second by Louis. Objection to the motion. Objection 800. Council, I would like to add an executive. Their motion to go into executive.
Motion to go into executive session.
We have a motion by Eric. We have a second. We have a second by Rona. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 8-0. Council entered into executive session at 5:59. I think maybe we'll just call Luke. Oh no, we have both of them. Need a link. Okay. We're gonna send a link, Louis and Lorelei, to go into executive session. It'll just be very brief. I just want to update you. Okay, so we're gonna disconnect from this one and go into the executive link, and from there we will adjourn. Thank you, the tribal membership who have joined us this evening. Go to executive.